Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Fevrin. I'm the product marketing manager for Route Manager and GPS. Welcome to our workshop that we're having today. Today, we're going to have a guest group of speakers who you may be very familiar with. We have Mike Christ, who is our team lead for customer success. He's the gentleman that you'll be speaking with or you have spoken with for onboarding, as well as Yasser Bar, who is a part of our customer success team as well. Both he and Mike are very responsible for giving you the tools and techniques you need to fully understand how to use and function with Route Manager. Thank you both for being here and thanks for all that you do. We also have Haley Mullen, who is our team lead for customer support. Anytime you have your issues or feedback, you reach out to her, and she and her team diligently address your needs. So we thank you, Haley, for all that you do. All right. So today, we're actually going to do a little shift of what we normally would do and just trying to reinforce some of the things that you may or may not know regarding routing, route sequencing versus route optimization. So I just wanted to go through the agenda of the things that we're going to touch on today. First, we're going to talk about what really motivates you as a user or your business's owner to even invest in routing software. So what the key drivers for using routing software is. Okay. Also, again, routing, what is the difference between route sequencing versus route optimization? This is something that everyone here in this room is very excited to discuss with you. Route optimization, specifically how this helps drive the success for your business and the operational efficiencies that you enjoy using route optimization as a tool. We have a couple of feature updates. You probably received your emails today where we have some feature updates, and we will like to lightly touch on those today. We are going to conclude with some feedback. We always solicit your input for anything to do with Route Manager, but we have a sort of an advisory board. We call it the Route Manager Feedback Board, and at the end, we'll just invite you to that. And last but not least, as we always do, we open up the workshop for your questions, and we're happy to go through all of that. So before we get into any of this exciting topic, we wanted to just pose a poll question to everyone since we are talking about route optimization and versus sequencing. Do you really believe that you know the difference between the two, between route sequencing and route optimization? So I'll allow everyone to take a moment so that you can fill out this or answer this poll question for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. This is Mike here. Wow, you guys are piling in on that. That's great. While you guys answer that poll question, let's give you a little insight into why we even want to talk about this today. So we talk a lot, of course, about route optimization, but we get questions a lot comparing us to even say using Google Maps or other people. And when we look into it, some people do route optimization. We're going to explain what that is, but then also sometimes we get compared against route sequencing. And that's kind of the Google Maps example. And we're going to go into those differences, but we really wanted to sit and talk with everyone today, in addition to the new features we're going to cover towards the end. So you'll have that too, about really the difference and the value of route optimization and why there is a difference and why, well, of course, why we believe route optimization is better, but also why you may look at sequencing as well. So we're going to definitely take a look at that, but we wanted to give you the idea for why we're even discussing that. I'm going to leave the poll question up for just another moment. We're at about 80% voted right now. And then Nicole, are you okay if I display the results when they're done? So I'm just going to, wow, it's still ticking up. So people are still clicking that. That's great. I love it. I love seeing these. But yeah, so, and then also in addition to that, of course, because that'll take us about 10 or 15 minutes, but then Haley's going to walk us through some exciting updates that just actually happened today that we think everyone's going to be really excited about. I got excited. I was like, when I saw the notes for what was coming, I'm like, ooh, I've always wanted that. Like, that's, yes, please. Yes, I'll take that all day. All right, we're at 85%. I think I'm going to close the poll out now. And I'll share the results. You see that up on your screen. So the question was, do you believe you know the difference between route sequencing and route optimization? 25% of you said yes, very cool. 35% of you said no. And then 40% just said unsure of the difference. So that's great. So this is meant for the vast majority of you today. That's why we're happy we're talking about it. So here we go. I'm going to put these results away, and then you should see my screen again. So we can't quite talk about the difference between route optimization and sequencing before we first at least identify why you would even want to use route optimization in the first place. So this part may seem pretty clear to you because you're already using route optimization software. But let's take a look at the two main buckets. When you're looking to get route optimization, you're looking to do two things. You increase your operational efficiency and ultimately generate more revenue. Now, routing does not necessarily lead to generating more revenue, but it gives you the tools to start doing it. So when we say operational efficiency, what is it really doing? Well, let's just go left to right here. Route automation. So it's the idea of being able to come in and just say, click a button and build your route. Now, all of you know that that still means that you have to uh, look at the routes, make sure it matches up with what you want. And then Haley just told me someone put a question in, said, yes, exactly. So just let her know if me speaking up is helping any better, because definitely you need to hear. So with route automation, the idea is that you click that button and you build those routes. That gets you a time reduction for your office staff so that they can focus on the other things that drive value for your business. Now, on the generating more revenue, really what that does is it opens up the possibility for that revenue generation. You find more time in your route so you can expand your offerings. Now, that either means you're going to have a higher volume or a higher level of service. So either you're going to say, you know what, I can find that I can do an extra 2 deliveries a day per vehicle. That's possible. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 1. Or you say, you know what, with that extra time in there, with the efficiency, I figure out I can actually, rather than do more, I can offer a higher level of service, maybe make it a little bit more white glove. And these are the things that route optimization allows you to ultimately take. Now let's talk a little bit about that sequencing versus optimization. So, Yasser, why don't you tell us a little bit of the tell us a little bit about what makes route optimization route optimization.
Well, route optimization within Route Manager, you have the ability to define your vehicle settings, your rules, even your orders requirements, how much time you're spending at each delivery, how many hours your vehicles can work from start to finish, even their starting and ending locations. And you also have the ability to make last minute adjustments to your route plans and re-optimize after your changes. So try to picture the vehicle setup page. If you're building your normal day rules, your everyday repeatable settings, and you build routes, Route Manager does the heavy lifting for you. But then you have the ability after that to give Route Manager one-time vehicle rule changes, these exceptions that we sometimes do on the map. That allows us to basically change up our vehicle settings, re-optimize according to a different standard of rules, and then Route Manager produces the route according to, of course, what you put in. With the advanced algorithms and the generating suggestions based on your routes, all this, of course, we have the ability within the vehicle settings for the cost. And of course, you can use cost within the vehicle settings to not really manipulate, but really pull some levers to get Route Manager to produce the routes according to your preferences. Sometimes you can lower the cost on vehicles to make them more preferred by Route Manager and increase the cost on other vehicles to make them less preferred. Now, for midday last minute adjustments, if you could take a look at the image below, we have, we're going to be in the slide before, Mike. Sorry about that. Thank you. The image below shows some completed orders within the route. They're grayed out on the scheduler. Now, midday, you can add in single orders. You can import one single order, but obviously adding it in manually would make more sense. And then squeeze it in by using the fit in option, the best fit in option, or of course, manual. But in this case, optimization wise, we want to use best fit. So you can adjust your vehicle's rules and then squeeze in that last order according to the best vehicle, the best date it's served on, and even the best recommended position. All those Route Manager obviously will produce without breaking your rules, and it will fit in if it can do so. So Mike, let's move on to the next slide. And looking at how it formulates routes based on more than just distance, like we discussed before, there are other things. Try to picture, once again, the vehicle setup page. Within there, you have the ability to put in maximum constraints, not just like worrying about the distance between your orders and then route managers just building off of only that. It's not. Once again, it has to follow your vehicle's rules and assign as many orders as it can without breaking them. It will never assign an order that breaks one of your rules or your settings. So more than just distance, like we said, we have things such as time windows, your order's requirements, your vehicle and driver tags and skills, whether they're banned or required. Playing a game of matchmaking, so to speak, an order that has a requirement, possibly you're delivering to a customer with a warehouse that's elevated or on ground level, and you need a vehicle with a lift gate or a hydraulic lift gate. So in that case, you put in skills, tags, and so on and so forth, and Route Manager has to assign your orders according to those requirements. Once again, following all those rules, whether they're driver skills, vehicle skills, like I said, a lift gate, or even possibly a driver that speaks a second language or has the license to serve certain orders. So not just distance. And of course, we factor in the vehicle weight limits like drive time, estimating better ETAs and drive times to help predict a more realistic schedule. Load capacities is another thing we look into. Of course, you define what you're carrying under your vehicle settings. Just try to picture that section in the vehicle setup page, defining what you're carrying, whether it's boxes, you're palletizing, bags, whatever it may be. You're putting in your maximum and you're defining each of my orders has a certain weight, whether I'm delivering or picking up, how much can I fit on my vehicle? And then of course, coverage, regions, and more. When we talk about regions, these are user-defined zones that can predetermine where your vehicles can or cannot go to serve orders. So you build in these zones if you want to see true separation in your routes, or you want to tell Route Manager, there's an area on my map that is, it has a lot of tolls. Like try to just picture Manhattan, try to picture like the Bay Area in San Francisco crossing over the bridge. Any of those sections in like urban areas, you want to define them as high cost regions in order to tell Route Manager, maybe I'm just not using this to separate where my routes are going, but I want Route Manager to tell my vehicles to go in, serve everything because it's high cost, possibly due to a bridge toll, or of course, due to the heavy traffic in those urban areas. So not just distance.
Thank you, Yasser. So with route optimization, think about all of the things that we just talked about. Yasser just mentioned um, simple things like cost or time, right? That goes into an algorithm to figure out, all right, what's the series of best results we could talk about here? Now let's contrast that to route sequencing. Now, mostly you can kind of think of this as GPS mapping. So when we talked before about, when we asked, do you know the difference between the two? Here's where we get into that nitty gritty. Route sequencing has a very basic usage, which by the way, works just fine for a certain segment of people. But as soon as you increase that complexity to include even one of the things that Yasser was talking about, let's even just say time windows, that's when you get into like, oh, well, now this just became a lot harder than figuring out what's the shortest distance between 2 points. And that's what sequencing is. How do I figure out just the shortest distance? So route sequencing is the process of just say, let's just, for example, say importing a list and getting, how do I get from point A to point B to point C? Some tools may say, well, if you go from here to here, it's shorter than going from here to here. But for any of you who have ever put like, I don't know, even travel destinations into Google Maps, which Google Maps is great, you get a lot of data from that, right? You then like, well, let me drag this around because actually I need to get here at 11. I can't get there at 9:30. As soon as you increase the variables by one, just one, that's when you need optimization. Sequencing is just, I'm going to put them on a map, might have to reorder them myself, but the intelligence that's giving you the directions is not telling you when you should be going there. They're just telling you the times you'll show up at the orders that in the order that you've put the stops in. And that's really just based on efficient drive time. Even when you get a slightly more advanced sequencing option, right? Even when you get to something that just says, well, maybe if you'll minimize distance, like Yasser was talking about, by going purely for this set of results. That's sequencing. And that's not what we do. Like we're very clear about that. That is just not what we do. We do optimization. we take in a lot of characteristics. By bare minimum, we'll do, say, distance, right? Or time. I'm not going to say we do distance. We try to minimize distance, but we're trying to honor that you have to have these things done in a certain amount of time. That's way different even than just popping them onto a map. So that's in a nutshell the difference between sequencing and optimization. What route sequencing does is it takes that point of origin and maps out a path for multiple stops. Again, sometimes based on the shortest distance. Other times, if you're doing it manually, you have to drag and drop it. And you know what? That works for some people. That can totally work if you've got one, maybe two vehicles, and you can show up whenever you want. Any of you here know, of course, that your businesses, for the most part, are much more complex than that. As soon as you add that one-time window, you got 10 orders, you got 15 orders, you got 5 orders, and you have to figure out, well, like just putting it into a sequencer isn't going to let me say how long I have to be there for. Like all you're going to get is an export of, I'm going to get this stop, this stop, this stop. It takes me a half hour to get from one, but again, put it into Google Maps, do it. And you'll find out it takes you 30 minutes to get from one stop to the other, but it's not going to let you, you're not going to be able to input that, hey, I'm going to be at this first stop for 2 hours or 30 minutes. Well, then what does that do to your drive time, right? So that you can't actually give an ETA to someone based off of that. It's all playing it by the, so it's playing by distance. It's, oh, drat. It lost the word out of it. You're playing it loose, right? Now, the thing that route sequencing doesn't do is account for those specific business rules. So cost is one, time efficiency is usually the biggest. That's the first thing. Like Yasser and I, when we talk to a new customer, the first thing they're going to say to us is either that they have a lot of orders and it's just too hard to do drag and drop on, even if it's 10 orders, that's a lot, over 1 or 2 vehicles. The other thing we're going to hear often is that, I don't need tags, I don't need any of these other things, regions, nah, it's the times. It's the times that get you, because that's the stuff that increases the complexity. Distance times time is what we do. That's what the algorithm figures out. That's what an optimization figures out, is distance and time. Everything else is just layered on. I'm going to go ahead and say most everyone just cares about distance and time windows, and a return trip back somewhere. Anything else you can layer on to make your routing just that much better? In Route Manager, we would say cost. In Route Manager, we might say regions. In Route Manager, we might say road editor. All that's extra. And some people use those. Some people use all of them. Some people use 1 or 2. But it's that time. It's the time and it's the distance. And it's the time windows that really matter when you're dealing with routes. And that's where optimization comes into play. That is why sequencing versus optimization is one of our favorite topics to talk about here, because some people only need sequencing, fine. But as soon as you increase that complexity, optimization is key. So what I'd like you to do, because we're going to talk about some of the feature updates we have. If you have any questions about optimization versus sequencing, if you want us to double back on anything, talk about it a bit more, put it into the questions pane, and we'd be happy to talk. Well, I'll talk about optimization versus sequencing any day. So we absolutely do that. In the meantime, while we see if any of those questions come in, let's talk a little bit about that route optimization and how it impacts your success. So we talked before about operational efficiency. So all this time, right? So these are the things that make route optimization special versus sequencing. But how does route optimization then translate that into impact on your business? So the drivers before were operational efficiency and generating more revenue. So how does this actually translate? So you increase that efficiency. You actually come in and say, well, I'm going to be able to do X amount more stops or spend more time at an order. You then come in and say, well, maybe I can reduce a little human error. Back in the old days, right? You would come in and you'd have a big map on the board and you'd tie the pinpoints and strings. It's true, right? That's how route planning traditionally can work. And you do some crow flies. So that can be obviously a little bit of human error inside of that. Now, because you're increasing your operational efficiency, you're then able to come in and say, generate more revenue. So that happens by 2 ways, and that in 2 measurable ways. You can reduce your operational costs. Some people can reduce their driving time, which reduces fuel consumption. Some people can reduce the amount of time spent planning. So your office manager or your router can actually focus on looking at the warehouse rather than sitting in front of a map all day. Then on top of that, though, you can then maximize your driver's output. So the optimization, again, versus sequencing can say, great, you can save X amount of time or fit in X amount more orders. And those are the things that end up getting you those operational efficiencies and generation of more revenue. Sequencing, well, you might be able to increase some efficiency if you only look at, for instance, like how much time did I spend in between two stops? And you can surely say, if I cut out this one road, I get an extra 5 minutes in my day. But how can you translate that to anything? That's where it really comes in. But yeah, either way, think about if you have any questions on route optimization for sequencing. I didn't see anything come in while we transitioned away. So definitely think about any questions you may have, pop them in. And then in the meantime, if you want to learn more, you can check out the blog we posted about it. It summarizes some of these steps and goes into a little bit more detail in a readable format about the on WorkWave.com, and you can look for the route planning versus route optimization. What's the difference? An entire section for it.
Hi, everyone. I also shared it in a chat. I sent the link over for everyone to see this blog if you're interested.
Thank you. So we did have a question come in from Danielle. I think we can take it now because it actually comes into this. It speaks a little bit to what Yasser was talking about before. Danielle asked, are the routes built in Route Manager taking into consideration roads that do not allow commercial vehicles? We can. So that's a setting that we'd have to talk through with you. But yeah, we can. We have the data to block roads, especially ones that don't allow commercial. That's a thing. That's a thing over here in New Jersey and New York, certainly. By default, we always kind of assume a small truck, right? The commercial blocking gets a little trickier to do just for everyone because some places allow commercial, some don't. But the bottom line answer is yes. You just tell us and we work it out with you. Cool. But yeah, again, that's part of route optimization. You can show me a route sequencer that does that. I mean, maybe it exists. I don't want to. Someone's going to email me later, be like, "No, it does this one." Okay, fine, I get it, but Google's not doing it. Okay. All right. So with that said, again, pop your questions in. We love talking to you. I'm going to pass the presenter role over to Haley, who's going to walk us through 2 new features or feature updates. Features. What do you want to call them? Improvements. Improvements. I like it. All right. So Haley, incoming. There you go.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Hey, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed the first part of our session today. And like Mike said, feel free to enter any questions you have into the questions panel, and we'll be sure to get to them. What I wanted to show you today was 2 updates that were rolled out earlier today. Both of them are going to make your life a little bit easier. And it's also helped to clean up some of the ways you viewed things inside the interface. So the first item we are talking about today is our virtual tracking. Some of you know of this as mobile GPS, but I think using the term virtual tracking works a little bit better. We are not tracking your vehicle. We are just simply tracking your driver's credentials. If they have a route, the driver is assigned to a vehicle and that route is approved and dispatched. And then the last part is that the driver has logged into the mobile app and is executing on the mobile app. So one of the features in the mobile app and available to you as a service, there are 2 parts to it. One is called 360, which allows the event tracking or proof of delivery in the mobile app. There's a second service, which is that virtual tracking. That allows you to see the breadcrumbs for your driver while they are on their route. So previous to today, if you had virtual tracking, Yes, you had to assign it to your driver. And here is our lovely Pendo guide to explain some of the new options in here. So there we go. But what'll happen currently is now when you are in setup in your vehicles list, if you are in all vehicles or GPS only, you will no longer see those virtual tracking devices in this list. This helps clean it up. Now, if you have a combination of physical GPS devices and virtual tracking in your all vehicles and in your GPS only, you will continue to see those physical devices listed. So this makes this panel a bit cleaner to look at. It makes it easier to know what devices are not assigned to a vehicle. There will no longer be confusion about, am I putting this device on a vehicle? Well, I have a mobile tracking device, a virtual tracking device. I'm going to add that to my vehicle. That kind of breaks things a little bit. So what we've done to help with this is now you will no longer see those here. Instead, if you go to your drivers, and whether you are creating a new driver or you are editing a current driver, once you come in and you edit your driver or you're creating them and you enable them to track, which means you're adding a virtual tracking device, now you will see available mobile devices right here in this panel. If you have multiple, you can choose any number that's here. It does not matter which one you choose. Moving forward, there will be no more editing of a virtual tracking device name. You do not need to assign a color any longer to it. This is because now with this only available in the driver setting, once you have assigned it to the driver, you save and apply now. And if they have an approved route, are logged into the mobile app, have their location services turned on, you will see them on the map. So right now, this leads into our next part, which I know Mike had another slide for this, but we don't need to show it. Well, it leads right into the second feature. Why have I assigned that and I don't see my driver here? Well, let's take a look at things. So here I have a route for today. If I look at my numbers here, well, they're just single digits. If I click on show approved routes, it's not doing anything. This is because I have not yet approved my route for today. So to be able to see my drivers with virtual tracking devices, again, the routes need to be assigned and approved. And if you look over here to the left, slight change in what used to be our approve and dispatch button. This is now dispatch routes, send routes to drivers. Some exciting updates in here for everyone. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on this. First thing you'll notice up top, there's a counter, 0 of 5 days dispatched. So right now, I have routes in the system. I haven't dispatched them yet. What you'll also notice is 0 of 5. Before this update rolled out, you were only able to approve today plus any 3 dates in the future. Now you can approve for today plus any dates in the future. And we've added an even better change to this. Now, when you click in your dispatch button, you will have a list of the next 2 weeks of dates, and you can quickly see the dates that have routes that can be approved. They will have this blue dispatch button. So now I'm going to go ahead and approve today's route, and maybe I want to go ahead and approve these routes in the future. Once I'm done with that, I can click Apply Now. My sequencing has updated on my route. Now, if I click the show and show or hide approved routes, once I click show, my approved route will be below. Once my route starts executing, I can see those changes above, so I can always do the comparison of what I approved and what was actually executed. once my driver physically logs in, what will happen now is on the map, I will see a circle that matches this color of this vehicle with this vehicle ID inside of it. So if Wayne Gretzky were to log into the mobile app to start executing, I would then see him, the great 99, right here on the map as number 8. I guess I should have made him number 9 or created 99 vehicles just to really drive that point home. But he would show up as a big, bright pink number 8 on my map. And then I would start seeing breadcrumbs as he goes about his routes and starts completing it. So those are the 2 updates we have. Now, one quick word to mention. Now, what if I have a route that's further out than March 11th? That's still completely fine, guys. If you still have days that are available to be dispatched, which you can always verify real quickly right here in the counter, if you come up to your calendar and you go to that date, as long as it's in your planning horizon, now I don't have a date route built here, but if I did, if I clicked open and I have routes here, all I would have to do is click select all, and in Navigo, my dispatch button would become enabled. And I would be able to click the dispatch and apply now, and this route would also be approved. So those are 2 new features. If anyone has questions on these, please let me know.
Thank you, Haley. I mean, that's exciting for me. People have always asked, hey, how can I have more flexibility with approving routes in the future? So being able to pick up to, 2 weeks, you said, right? 2 weeks in the future, any 5 days, sounds excellent. So we had a few questions come in. One of them related to the first feature you talked about with the new dispatch options. And then Michelle will get to your second question in the Q&A portion. So Michelle asks, Haley, for the dispatch, our drivers may change vehicles from day to day. Do we have to assign a new ID each day? That sounds like it could be more work.
I'm a little confused on that. I'm strictly talking about virtual tracking and not physical GPS. If you have physical GPS, that is assigned to your vehicle in your vehicle list, not to your driver. So no matter what driver steps into that vehicle and is assigned to that route, that vehicle is being tracked by the physical GPS. I'm strictly talking about virtual tracking, which is only tracking the driver's credentials and not the vehicle. Let me know if that helps answer that.
All right, and then Michelle actually said, and then, okay, so then we wouldn't want to click track on the driver's tab then, right? Yeah, because they're using physical devices, correct?
Hey, Michelle, since you have physical devices, unless you also have virtual tracking, you will not have that option. If you do have both, for example, maybe a vehicle is in the shop and your driver is using something else, maybe he's using a backup vehicle that doesn't have a GPS device in it. In that case, you would need to remove the GPS device from that vehicle that driver is assigned to temporarily and make sure virtual tracking is assigned to a driver in the driver's setup. Also, as just a quick note on this, if you have both GPS and virtual tracking, and you have GPS assigned to your vehicle and virtual tracking assigned to your driver, only the physical GPS tracking for the vehicle will be tracked. That always overrides the virtual tracking. We can always take that a little offline if you want to send me a ticket and I can go through a full step-by-step for you.
Perfect. There was another question there from Michelle about that kind of thing, so I think that'd be great. And she said she will. So just to kind of wrap that up a little bit, what Haley was just talking about for the new feature was how to use the mobile GPS option and assign it to a driver, because that's assigned via that, because we track mobile through the mobile app. If you're using hardware GPS, WorkWave GPS, no change. That's still assigned to a vehicle, which makes sense, right? A physical device is assigned to a vehicle. A mobile app tracking is assigned to the driver because the driver's logging in there. So if that helps kind of make that a little bit clearer too. All right. So With all of that said, we have some other questions coming in. We'll take them in the Q&A section. Thank you, Haley. So I'm going to grab that presenter role back from you. Give me a moment. Okay, so Nicole, you wanted to talk a little bit about the Route Manager Feedback Board.
Yes, I do. Thank you so much, Mike. So as I mentioned in the beginning, hold on a second, I think. As I mentioned in the beginning, we love to hear your feedback on Route Manager. As you know, periodically we do new designs, we do new features as we've just done. We love to have you participate in our feedback board where you can beta test any of these new changes that we're trying to make. So if you're interested, please let us know. You can hit the questions button and let us know if you're interested. Also, at the end of this workshop, we're going to be sending out a survey, and that is another opportunity for you to let us know if you are interested in becoming a member of our feedback board.
Perfect. Thank you, Nicole. And yeah, absolutely, everyone. If you're interested in, as Nicole said, providing feedback on any new features we're thinking of that are either imminent or more out in the future, this is a perfect way to do it. We love getting that feedback from everyone. All right, so let's talk through a few questions then. So I'm going to pass the mic around as needed. Haley and Yasser, just raise your hands if you want to take the question. All right, so first question comes in from Michelle. So she's asking something about the view only mode. Do the breadcrumbs show up in the view only mode as well? Okay, so we're going to, so Haley and Yasser want to take a quick look at that. The look was, yes, we should be fine, but we're going to double check. Oddly enough, I guess that's a question no one's ever asked us before. So let's look at that for you. Yasser, you want to log in and just take a look at your demo account? Stumped all three of us on the first question. I'm going home. Oh boy. Oh, don't apologize, Michelle. It's good. All right. Okay. So this question comes in from Gane. He wants to know, have there been any improvements with geocoding? Our drivers are being sent to sometimes the wrong destination, even though the correct address is entered, and want to know why this is and how it could be improved. So with that, with any geocoding issues you find, please submit to us so that we can submit it to our map provider. Use the submit support ticket button up in the top right, and then just give us the example as we submit it directly to them so we can work it out. We can also work out if maybe there was some kind of mistranslation between the address and the latitude, longitude. But yeah, the most important thing is to let us know so we can figure out if it's any kind of one-off, if it's something in the area that we need to alert our partners to so that we can route you correctly in there. But yeah, all we need is the details as they happen. Okay, so this question comes in from Tracy. She wants to know, is there a text feature that is being installed? Yes. Yes, there is. We'll have more to talk about that soon. It'll be an ETA update feature. When we do, we'll have an announcement about it, of course, and then we'll talk about it more in detail as well as pricing for the SMS. I can say for certain that it's going to be North America only to start. So Canada, US, believe Mexico. Canada and US for sure. We'll have more details as we go. But yeah, so there's an ETA update feature. Right now it's just emails, but we're working on that. That's in the coming soon bucket. Okay. So second question comes in from Tracy. Yeah, so you're working on the vehicle breadcrumb bit. All right, so you do that. Tracy wants to know, is there a feature that offers customers to track arrival of delivery? Actually, yes. With that, so right now that is actually kind of a bit more towards what you were talking about before, I think. If I answered incorrectly, let me know. But right now we have the option to email customers with delivery notifications. That's part of the Route Manager 360 package. Emails are included with that. There's an entire section. There's documentation on the support site.
Sorry, for the part about tracking the arrival of delivery, that is the almost there feature. So that requires both 360 plus virtual tracking or GPS.
Yeah, so and you have to have some kind of GPS function in order for us to display a live ETA. Otherwise, it's pretty cool. You can look back in the library if you want to see a video of it. We've showed it before. Where what it does is that when you hit the threshold for delivery in 15 minutes, the customer will get an email and actually track the driver as they're going along on their route. Then Yasser, you just looked at the view only mode because we actually had another question for that too. What was the response there?
It is you're going to be able to view your breadcrumbs even as a viewer credential, not just a planner.
Perfect. Can't believe that one stumped all of us at the same time. How did that even happen? That's it. Like I'm going back to route manager school. That's it. Jess is taking over now. Yas, it's over. Joe had a question there too. Oh, we got questions pouring in. All right. Let's see. So Gane asks, certain vehicle numbers won't track regardless of which driver is assigned to it. Why is this and what is the solution? That's something we'd have to take a look at a bit more specifically with you. In addition, when you submit that support ticket, we always ask you, I'm not sure how long you've been using Route Manager for, we always ask you to submit a support ticket where the example is, not because we're trying to make more work for you, but the cool thing is we actually get an exact copy of your plan as it is at that very moment. So if you're saying this vehicle number at this time is having this problem, we have a copy of your data that we can actually research. Submit that into us. Haley and her team will take a look and get back to you with an answer. Okay, let's see. Danielle, similar question. Lots of ETA stuff today. This is cool. I'm glad we're going to have some new stuff to talk about soon. Is there a way for a customer to see where a driver is on the map? So to Haley's point from before, if you're using Route Manager 360 plus, virtual or hardware tracking, yes, it's not a permanent one. So you don't really want you don't really want the person to know, where the driver was on the order before them. That's a privacy violation for order number 7 when order number 8's next up. But after the driver has completed an order and is on the way to the next stop, an email alert, soon to be a text message, can trigger to your customer that will actually then let them track it live on a map. So yes. Let's see. So Luke wants to know, this is a question about the new dispatch feature. Can unassigned orders still be dispatched up to 2 weeks in advance?
Hi, Luke. So the reason we have almost 2 question marks on that is first, you would have to make sure that those unassigned orders are built to a route. So you would have to build the routes first. In Route Manager, you can build your routes throughout your entire planning horizon. So first, I would need to go back and look and see exactly what your planning horizon is. Just as a quick follow-up on that, the default for most users is 31 days, which equals 2 days in the past, plus the current day, plus 28 days in the future. So if you have unassigned orders on the map for the current day, plus the 28 in the future, you can always build those. Now, there's also a follow-up on my side from this of, do you have any eligibility assigned to those orders? Because if you do, you would first have to edit those orders to change the eligibility. Once they are built to a route, you can then approve and dispatch. If it falls outside that 2-week window, you can then use the selective approval by going to that date in the calendar.
So, of course, if you have any follow-up on that, please just submit that support ticket or we'll reach out to you. But I think maybe Luke may have been talking about the planning horizon or the amount of days ahead you can plan for. That does not change with this update. What's changing here is it used to be you could only dispatch up to 4 days routes in advance. What we're doing now is so you can dispatch any 4 days up to 2 weeks. If you plan out for the entire month, you can still do that. You just can't dispatch out a route that's 30 days ahead. So it's because the driver doesn't need, usually anyway, to see a route that's at the end of the month when it's the first of the month. But let us know if that answers the question. Tracy asks about the delivery notification feature. How about a customer receiving a text and not an email? Text message is coming soon. You'll see the announcement for that. Michelle asked, she said Yasser was a bit low. Something must be up with this microphone today. So if you can see breadcrumbs, yes, they can. So Tina asks, this is about the ETA feature. Wow. So the people you are picking can see where you are if you want them to. Yeah. I mean, otherwise, like You don't have to have that turned on. That's not a requirement. That's an option if you're trying to provide some kind of ETAs and live updates. But if you don't want them to see it, then they won't. Luisa asks, why wouldn't I add an address manually? Sometimes it can't locate it, even though we go there Monday through Friday. Same thing for the previous person who was asking, Gane. If you submit us the address, we can take a look for you. Then Danielle asks, I didn't get a chance to look this question over, so I don't know if, let me take a look. When you're building a route, is there a way to only select a certain time windows to build the routes for? For example, we do 2-hour delivery windows. Can I select to only build routes for orders with 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. time window? So the direct answer to that is no. But if you send us an example of what you're talking about, there are some ways to do that sort of thing. We can take a look, and because it's kind of just saying, if an order is eligible or not. As a general rule, if there are vehicles available in the time windows that you're trying to route for, we'll try to put the orders there. That's what we do. But there's ways we can block orders from being done. Coming to mind, it would require a little bit more. So maybe Yasser, if you could reach out to Danielle, or I'll reach out, maybe talk about using tags to block orders from being routed. Because we can do some mass editing. Like there's ways to block that sort of thing. So we can talk about that. But that requires definitely a little bit more of a one-on-one conversation. Anyway, okay. Wow, we hit the end. There was a lot of questions. Thanks, everyone. We love questions. And Danielle just said thank you. We'll look forward to hearing from you. So either Yasser or I will reach out to you. Yeah, that's no problem. Okay, so I'm going to leave the lines open for about another 30 seconds because we're actually running a little long. So that's fine. Love questions. So if there's anyone who, specifically for anyone with anything with addresses, please be sure to just submit an example to us and we'll take a look. Always remember, hit that support ticket button because we do get a copy of that plan, especially when it comes to, something that's specific to a certain time and day. We definitely need that because we'd love to help you and make sure we get it running the way you want. Okay. Remy sent in Remy, if you were asking a question, it said, it kind of cut off. It said just after inserting a route. So if you want to finish typing that out, we'll leave the line open for another, 30 seconds or so. Otherwise, just submit that support ticket and Haley's team will get back to you. And then by all means, everyone, please, there's going to be a survey after the session ends, so stick around for that. Let us know if you enjoyed this session, if you want us to do more like this. Typically, we spend a bit more time talking about, just best practices inside of Route Manager, which we're still going to do. But we want to talk a little bit more industry-wide, so just definitely leave that feedback inside of the survey. All right. So we'll end the session here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Please take that survey after the session closes.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much again. Like Mike said, we enjoy having these types of workshops to just inform you what the latest updates for Route Manager. Thank you for your time and attention. We plan to send a copy of this recording, and it should be coming to you early next week. And you can feel free to share to anyone in your team as you wish. Have a fabulous day, and thank you so much for your attendance. Bye now.